Should you buy a 2022 GMC Canyon AT4 or wait for the 2023 Canyons to come out? I'm going to try to answer that question for you in today's video using this onyx black with jet black interior 2022 GMC Canyon AT4. Obviously, if you want to know more about this particular truck and maybe buy it from Morgan Buick GMC, from which I borrowed it today, check out the link down in the description of the video and you can learn all about it and get in touch with the dealership and maybe go buy it possibly. This truck has obviously very good off-road capability, as it has a good ride height for off-roading, electronic locking rear differential, 2-speed transfer case, and it has a very impressive towing capacity for a mid-size truck, and obviously quite a few features here. When it comes to the overall look and design of this second generation of the Canyon, it absolutely blows in the water, the first generation, because it just looked weak. It looked kind of like this dorky little truck that really couldn't do very much, and that was really very true of it. Sorry, GMC, I'm not trying to insult anybody, but this was a huge step in the right direction. It definitely made a big difference as far as the overall looks and capabilities. It doesn't only look capable, it is capable. It will have the projector beam headlights with the signature daytime running lights, and then we're going to have LED fog lights down here, the nice surround to give it just a nice look, kind of that AT4 flair, and you'll definitely get the AT4 grille here with the GMC logo. Tell me what you think. Should that be bigger on the next generation? We'll find out how much bigger that really is in person in the very near future. And when it comes to pulling out the Toyota Tacomas, the Nissan Titans, and the Honda Ridgelines out of the mud, the owners will know they can just come up and hook up to your front tow hooks automatically because they're red, they stand out, so they're going to know that they're here. And what about capabilities off-road with tires? 265 on the width, obviously an off-road tire, you can tell by the tread design here, and then 65 on the sidewall size wrapped around the gloss black 17-inch wheels. This should probably not be gloss black because you're going to go off-roading with this truck. I'm not sure how that's going to hold up, but it is what it is. You obviously have the skid plates, the underbody protection, all of that, the rocker protection here. Everything is here. The heated power adjustable but manually folding side view mirrors. And something that's interesting here, at least I thought it was interesting, you have a combination of the new school remote right here with lock-unlock, remote start, and then obviously the panic button right there. And for those of you who like old school, guess what? You have an ignition key right here. There are probably people in the younger generation today who might not even know what to do with this. I apologize to those of you who might be watching who are part of that generation. I'm just having a little fun with that. And then nicely done rear taillights to finish everything off back here. Fits the size of the truck, the GMC and Canyon logos. Obviously, you've got your V6 logo because we've got the 3.6 liter V6 under the hood and the AT4 logo. Now, one thing I am kind of curious about here is if we're going to see a deeper bumper step here on the next generation. That seems a little bit shallow, at least in my opinion. But then again, I'm spending a lot of time around the 1500s that have a larger bumper and everything, a little bit deeper. So we'll see what happens when that time comes. Now, what about that V6 right there? Let's talk about exactly what it is and what kind of numbers you can expect horsepower and torque-wise. So what actually puts power to the ground for this 4x4 truck? 3.6 liter V6, it makes 308 horsepower and 275 pounds-feet of torque. It's mated to an 8-speed automatic transmission. Now, one question to definitely answer here. How about MPGs? We're looking at 17 city, 24 highway, 19 combined, and 5.3 gallons of gas per every 100 miles you drive is what GMC says it should use. And to make it a little bit easier to understand, or maybe to put into a real-world perspective as far as how many gallons of gas you're going to use per every 100 miles you drive, this is a 21-gallon gas tank. When properly equipped, this Canyon can tow up to 7,600 pounds. I told you those numbers were pretty impressive. And max payload capacity go as high as 1,540 pounds. Obviously, with the AT4 package here, we're going to find the spray-in bed liner. That's good. You're going to have several tie-down points there, the GMC logo in the front. So quite a bit going on here. as far as what your capabilities are for, well, doing the work of a pickup truck. And when it comes to the rear seat area, kind of an interesting look here and design with the door bin. You have a bottle holder right here, and then the upper door bin is where everybody back here can stow their snacks, so that helps out. There's obviously under seat storage here, and you can gain access to the tools to change a tire if necessary. And we'll put that down and hop inside. Now, one thing that I do notice that is missing here, there's nothing to grab onto. There is a grab handle up here, but that's really more of the oh crap handle, I think, than anything else. If riding down the road and maybe drop the hammer on that 308 horsepower or take a turn real fast or something like that. But it is what it is. Not that hard to really get into, that's for sure. And then the rear seat pockets right here for storage, and then 2 USB ports, and you can actually turn that into 3 with an adapter that can go right here within the 12-volt power outlet. I would like to start seeing more car makers, or truck makers in this case, put in actually 3 USB ports. That would be useful, but there is a lot of space back here. Fairly comfortable interior, it seems. And then here is the design of the armrest. You do have the cup holders built into the center here. Kind of nice that they are built in as they are right here instead of being in the front. That way, if there's 2 drinks in here, well, the passengers, if I can get that out of my mouth without stuttering too much, can still have their arms on the armrest and make use of that without having the drinks get in the way, as they do with some vehicles when they're in the front like this. So that's one thing I definitely have to say is a real good thing with this truck. And then you have the manually sliding rear window right here, and obviously the rear window defroster. Now, I want to say something here about these door bins that I definitely couldn't say about the back. I'm impressed with what we have here. The upper door bin, a little bit larger, and definitely more space down here because there's actually the bottle holder here and then more space underneath right here. So I think the space was more properly used on the front doors than it was on the rear. But tell me what you think down in the comments section. Power seats that are also heated for the driver and the passenger, and the AT4 logo right there. The one thing I always wonder about, why isn't that AT4 logo on the rear headrests in the rear seats as we have here in the front? The glove box has a reasonable amount of space in it, so you can put as many gloves as you want to in there. Does anybody actually do that? And look at what we have here that we didn't have in the back seat. We've got the grab handles to make getting in and out a whole lot easier. And then a little bit of space up here as far as storage, again, for whatever you can fit in there. Not a lot of space, but it is there nonetheless. And a little more space here as well. You're going to find wireless phone charging right here. This just happens to be here. That's the funnel. If you run out of gas and have to use a gas can to put gas back in the vehicle, well, that's what allows you to put that in. It's just a lot easier that way. The cup holders right here that are also working as a funnel holder right there. So multitasker, your conventional style shifter right here. So say if you were saying you'd like to consider a Honda Ridgeline, but you don't like the push button shifter, well, guess what? You don't have that here. So that's a benefit. Tell me what you think. Would you rather have the conventional style shifter here or a column shifter? I'm always curious to know what everybody thinks about that. And then we've got, I like the height here of the center console because it's easy to use as an armrest. That lid obviously doubles as the armrest and the cover or the lid for the center console. Quite a bit of space down in there, a lot of space. So a lot of good things there. We also have the sunglass holder up here. On a lot of the newer GMC trucks, obviously we see the sunglass holder has moved down here, or at least with the Yukons, I should say. Kind of interesting how that works. And let's do the test here on the visor. There I am. We can wave, say hello, and let's see here. How far does this go? If the guys from the straight pipes are watching, you should be happy with this test. It comes back pretty far. I think it does a good job. Let's get that back in its proper place. And for the most part, we're going to see the mirror image on the driver's side door over here, with the exception of obviously more controls here. I probably don't have to tell you what all of that is. And then you've got the controls here for the headlights and other things as well. Again, I don't probably have to tell you what that is for. Here's the control for your lights and all of that good stuff. We'll hop inside here real quick. Now, there is no push button start in this particular truck. So if you're curious, the only way you can use push button start is to use remote start. Like I said, you've got the old school key right here. And I think I'm gonna have to turn that off just like that. And we'll get the steering wheel out of the way and show you what the instrument cluster looks like. A combination of analog gauges, and then you've got the digital information there in the center as well. Pretty easy to figure out how to use. You've got your cruise control here, and then over here you can go through all of the different information there on that instrument cluster, depending on what you might want to see or know about. Pretty easy to figure out. On the rear of the steering wheel, I don't know how well I can show it from this particular angle, but you have the controls for the volume for the radio and changing stations. So a pretty simple system to use in allowing the driver to pretty much keep their hands on the steering wheel the whole time. As far as the infotainment screen goes, we're going to have Apple CarPlay and Android Auto. That means you can pair your phone and basically make this screen turn into your phone. So that's always a good thing. Very easy to use and very easy to do. Now, we don't have a lot of cameras all over this vehicle, but you do have the rear view camera, the backup camera. So if you were curious about that, well, there that is. And then to go home, we can just hit that button right there. There is quite a bit here. You can pair your phone, go through information for audio. It does have team driver mode and all of those things. It's all here. Go into settings here. Let's see here. We'll go into settings and let's see here. Here's where we're going to find. We have the rear seat reminder, all the information here. I don't really have to tell you much about what's here. Lighting, there's everything there. There's teen driver, you have valet mode, and then your climate control right here as well. So that's going to be useful. Here's your fan speed on this side, so you can turn the fan speed up if you want to. We won't turn that up too high. And then obviously you can change the controls here, or the temperature here with this control on this side. And then down here, I told you had heated seats. Heated only, but that's what you have. So that's going to be for the seats themselves. You have two different areas that obviously you can control there. And ultimately, that's what you're going to have within the interior. But why don't we get on the road for a test drive and see how that goes with the 2022 GMC Canyon. All right, let's get out on the road here and we'll see how we accelerate. Get on down the road here and see what happens. Yeah, getting down the road without any trouble, really. I know a lot of people might say, well, I'm just not so sure that 308 horsepower is enough. So depending on your situation, that may or may not be you. I didn't even drop the pedal all the way to the floor, and it seemed to have no trouble getting down the road. A little bit more tire to turn. That means a little bit more gear that you're turning. So it's not going to be lightning quick, but you know what? This truck is going to meet your needs if this is something you want as far as getting up to highway speeds and taking care of business. The seats themselves do seem to be just a tiny bit stiff as far as the way they feel, but then again, I don't drive these all the time, and I could probably do a better job of positioning the seat. The one thing that is interesting about positioning these seats is they are power seats as far as adjusting the position forward and back with the seat. But when it comes to changing the position of the seat back itself, there's actually a manual release to do that. So depending on the situation, well, that can be quite interesting. So let's let this medic unit get by here. I didn't know where they were coming from, but now they're not going to come over in this lane. So we'll get on down the road. People getting out of the way over there, which is a good thing, I guess. All right. Now, before I was distracted right there, we'll get on down the road here and talk about this. The one thing I mentioned earlier is that on most road surfaces, you will find that this Canyon has a good ride quality. When you have a truck that is capable off-road as this one is, you're going to expect, well, maybe a little bit more of a stiff ride. It's not going to be a Honda Ridgeline because it doesn't have the independent rear suspension and all that the Ridgeline has that makes it ride so well, but obviously this truck's going to be able to go places the Ridgeline can't go. Now, one thing I'm definitely going to say here, it's not going to matter whether you buy the 22 or the 23 as far as the infotainment system goes. Both are easy to learn and use. And I know there's still a lot of you out there who have never had this kind of technology here. And while this truck may not have all the bells and whistles that are available from GMC, it still has quite a bit that may intimidate some people. Not hard to use at all. The truck is nice because it's easy to get around. So if you need a truck bed, you maybe tow every once in a while, something like that, and you're saying to yourself, but I live in the big city, I don't want a full-size truck. This is a really good truck. It's nimble, it gets around without any trouble. It does a very good job with handling, and has, well, a really nice turning radius, tight turning radius for what it is. So overall, these are really solid trucks, but I have to admit, I can't wait to get my hands on the 2023 version of the Canyon. Not that I'm trying to discourage you from looking at this one, but it'll be interesting to see what the changes are in person. So tell me down in the comments section, do you think that you should go ahead and buy a 2022 GMC Canyon? You'll probably get a better deal on it right now than you would otherwise, or wait for the fully redesigned 2023 models to come out. Tell me what your answer is and tell me why you answered the way that you did. And I say a special thanks to my friends at Morgan Buick GMC for loaning me this truck for the day, and a special thanks to all of you for giving me the opportunity to give you a vision for your next vehicle. If you enjoyed this video and want to learn about other vehicles you may wish to consider purchasing, check out the video that's on the screen right now, and I will see you there.